We're live. No intro. Woo! You are looking live at the GovCast. You see her? Shari Levitin's here today. That's the best. Woo! She left Microsoft to come on the show big time and in the fall weather. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Woo! What's up, Dre? Welcome back.
I was only gone 1 week.
I had to carry the show last week. I thought they were going to fire me, but they brought me back. So I get to stay.
I had cake tasting for my wedding.
How'd it go? Did you pick out a cake?
We picked two. So they let you pick different flavors because there's a bunch of tiers. So we picked 2 flavors.
And what 2 flavors?
We're doing one that's like a buttercream with, do you know what dulce de leche is? Caramel. It's similar to caramel.
I'll go caramel.
Yeah, caramel. And then the other one is funfetti.
There you go. Look, so Dre left us to go plan her wedding. See, that just tells you where we are. And today, look, we have Shari Levitin here. Thank you so much, Shari, for joining us. Just left Microsoft to come on the show for the millions and millions of viewers. So super blessed today. Anything else happening, Dre? Anything else happening in your world? Work? How's it all time?
Work is good. It's almost Thanksgiving. Well, I guess in the spirit of football. So I'm actually going to the Florida State game. I've never gone before.
Ooh, that's good. Right?
That'd be fun.
It's so funny. I have a home in Florida, but I'm up in Maryland. Everyone's like, "Are you going to the game Thursday night?" The Ravens are traveling down to Miami, so we'll not be down there. So
you should just come for it.
I know. Believe me, I got pinged 1,000 times. But listen, for those of you here last week and for the remainder of the year, we're really doing something special and different for the end of the year shows. And so we're going to focus on, you'll hear a lot at the end of the year about, hey, planning and goal planning and what are your goals for next year and New Year's resolutions. And a lot of it falls by the wayside, right? I mean, that's really what happens, right? That's really what happens. And so maybe you get a month or 2 in, folks join the gym, then they quit and what have you. But listen, 2022 is going to be a super important year for so many folks. And really there's 4 confluences happening that are super important. It looks like, God willing, we're bringing COVID to an end, right? So hopefully if we keep on the same track, it'll stop being such an adamant part of everyone's life. But then what happens, the whole work from home thing, most of us have been work from home for about 18 plus months. And a lot of, look at Dre, see work from home there. So, and then, what's going to happen? Like, are you personally want to go back in the office? Do you not? Some companies forcing folks to go back, some saying no. And then the federal, mandate for the vaccinations. And so that's going to be a real thing. What do folks want to do from a work-life balance? I had a quick sidebar. I had a note today earlier, somebody, it's like, we used to say all the time, hey, I want to work on the beach in the Caribbean. Well, that's actually a thing. You could actually do that now, right? With COVID, a lot of folks could actually do their job in some super fun location. So that very
Look at you're traveling. I saw you bought another house.
What are you doing out there? I am going to be, the next time you see me in the new year, we'll be in Texas. So my family, grandkids are in Texas. So I am transporting over to Texas.
Wait, full time?
I don't know. I don't think anything's full time right now. I'm like a nomad. I'm like a nomad and I rent out all my homes. So whenever somebody wants to rent it, I get out of it.
Where do you go? You just pitch a tent outside?
Just keep moving back and forth. Kevin Dorsey, he'll be on the show in a couple weeks. He said he went from California to Texas and sucked me in. And so I pinged him the other day and said, hey, I'm coming to Texas, bro. So we'll see. Cool. I don't know how that's going to go. So we'll see. I've only lived on the coast. I lived in California, Maryland, Florida. Never lived lakes. I'm on a lake, Lake Conroe, northeast. We'll just see. We'll see. But we'll see. So I am actually, you're right. I'm affected by that. So COVID coming down, work from home changing potentially for folks. 3, it being an employees market. No doubt we all know, right? The employees are dominating right now. A ton of opportunities out there. Should you stay at your current job? Would you go to a new job? What are the important factors, right? And then the 4th really being, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the economy, right? With the president and inflation and what's going to happen and the supply chain. And those 4 variables kind of coalescing are really make planning for 2022 super, super, super important. The next 14 months, the end of this year and the 12 months next year are probably going to have a dramatic impact on many, many folks for many years to come. And so as we were talking about that internally, we said, hey, we should bring some of the best folks out there in the market, share their viewpoint, what they're experiencing. And so super, super, super blessed today to have Shari Levitin. So I don't want to hold her backstage any longer. I want to bring Shari onto the show. And so super blessed. You would have to live in a cave if you're not. Oh, look at that. She got her. Hey, is that your home studio, or are you in a big time studio somewhere? Is that your
No, I'm actually in Puerto Vallarta, because you were talking about working from anywhere. And this is just my backdrop that I always use on Zoom so that my customers think I'm actually working.
There you go. All the time. Amazing what we can do now. See what COVID allowed us to do?
Wow.
But this is my real doggie. This is Mia.
Amen.
Actually, her name is Amelia. Do you remember Mia?
Yeah. Last time we had her dogs.
Yeah. She's my trusty assistant.
Amen. She's so cute.
I got to find my little puppy around here somewhere. I'm going to find Lola and drop her in here before the end of
the can't do this again.
That's way better than what anything we're going to talk about. Look, Shari knows how to win a crowd. She's like, screw what I'm going to talk about. Let me just bring my adorable little dog on the show. So, amen. What's that background you got on there, Shari? You want to tell people about
Jack, I wanted to really do good by you. And, my book is called Heart and Sell. And I just wanted to do something really special. So I wanted to let you know I have a heart on for you, Jack. I have a heart on for sales.
Oh, there you go.
Usually I have this beautiful sweater with a heart on it. And I got to tell you the genesis of this. Right when the book came out, I was doing a big time interview with Salesforce, and I was a little nervous. These people can be intimidating, kind of a big company. And, all of these people are there and everything, and people I haven't met. I'm trying to make a good impression. And I had my sweater on with the heart on it. And they said, "Are you ready? Because we're about to go live." I said, "I'm ready. In fact, I have a heart on." Anyway, people didn't know what to say. And then a couple of people started laughing. And ever since then, we thought we better brand that, because it is.
That's great. That's so good.
I didn't know where this came from. Okay, good to know now.
That's where it came from. But only on there's many customers we would not have this.
Appreciate that, though. Appreciate it. Look, see, anything goes. Yeah, in full disclosure, Shari, we work with Shari's organization, her helping to train our staff. And so it's truly, truly blessed. And so feel super blessed to have her here today and kind of share her insights. And so, Shari, maybe for the two folks that have never heard of you, can you just maybe give them your extended super, super bio and how blessed they are to share some time here today with you?
Well, I love sales. I've been selling since I was 6. And I really believe that better people make better salespeople, not the other way around. And so learning to be great in sales is really learning, how do I communicate better? How do I deal with conflict better? How do I set goals? How do I get in my heart? How do I find out what matters? And I guess, Jack, I just feel so blessed and so lucky that I'm actually getting to work on myself all the time, and learn to be a better human and a better wife and a better, mother and all of these things, because I do believe that sales principles are universal principles for how to be a better human in life. And that's why I'm so passionate about sales. And that's why I'm passionate about, this sort of idea of virtual sales too, because I think that having the option to be able to work from home, which I know we're going to talk about, I believe we're at a very critical time in our society where particularly young people, we get the opportunity to redefine what success means for us.
Amen.
And when I grew up in the 80s in sales, success meant I'm going to have big hair and I'm going to have a Ferrari and I'm going to make $1 gazillion and get a
I saw some of those pictures on Facebook you posted from when you started in your pantyhose. I saw you were for the world to see. I saw those. You were all over the internet the other day.
Yeah. But, I think today, people are so much more conscious. And people today want to make a difference, and they want life-work balance, not work-life balance. And, when we can work from home and have a little bit more flexibility, and, mothers who maybe just want to work part-time and be with their kids, I do think there's a new consciousness about how it's not work-life balance anymore, it's integration. And I think that sellers, you really want to think about what's important to you in that. Are you at a time when you're just going to pedal to the metal? Or do you want to integrate? And I believe you can do both. I believe we can work scarier, not harder.
There you go.
Talk about that. When you say scarier, not harder, what do you mean?
Well, I think there's this stigma that, we got to, work 20 hours a week in order to be successful. And we do need to work hard. Nobody ever made it in anything, being lazy and not being focused. But I think for a lot of sellers, what holds them back isn't how hard they work or how long they work. It's how scary they work. It's getting out of you got to get out of your own comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to work with a sales manager named David, and he called it getting out on the skinny branches of a tree. And the idea is that, you've got to do what scares you. And the call you're afraid to make is the call you must make. And just really think about what scares me the most. I don't know who made the quote, but I think it was maybe it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, if you're not doing something that scares the shit out of you, well, she didn't say shit. If you're not doing something that scares you every day, I butchered it. You're not living. But I do think we need to work scarier, not harder. Find mentors, ask for help. That's scary. That takes courage.
Yeah.
Sales takes courage. And the more courage you have, combining courage with heart, that's the balance that we need.
I think a lot too, Shari. I think a lot of sales folks, and we'll talk about 2020 plan, but a lot of sales folks, they just do the basics, right? They're like, oh, I know the pitch and I know the questions and I know the close. And really that high end stuff, when you talk about, hey, being scary, are really on the fringes. We always talk about it's the little details that make the difference.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, well, I know the pitch. And you're like, listen, everyone knows the pitch. You know,
Right.
And they're like, I know FAQs. We're like, everyone knows FAQs. Can you deliver them?
Right.
And can you read between the lines on the subtleties, right?
Absolutely. And the market's changed post-COVID. There's some interesting information. Michael Dell in his opening speech, I got to see it a few weeks ago, was saying that online spending during COVID, no big surprise, has increased by 25%. Okay, that's not a surprise. We were all there, getting, Amazon this and, getting drop ship groceries and everything else. But what he said is very poignant with it. Customer expectation for speed, service, and security has escalated exponentially. Mm-hmm. So today, it's not just about delivering a product, it's the guest experience, the customer experience. The big differentiator between you and a competitor isn't necessarily your product. It's, are you creating an experience where they want to do business with you? Yeah. My friend Amy Franco says, if we took you out of the equation and the product isn't any worse, you're not doing your job.
Ooh. Yeah, so true.
Definitely. So so a lot of these sales folks, right? Some are right out of college, upwards of however old, right? But I think a lot of the time we struggle with finding your why, because I want to talk about goals and how do we get there. But I think the most important piece is like, why? How do you find that though?
Oh God, I love this question. One of the greatest TED Talks of all time, of course, was Simon Sinek's Leading with Your Why.
Yes.
But I think it's misinterpreted. There's no question that if you tell people what you believe and not what you do, it's going to be more effective. You're going to connect better with people. You're going to connect your products better. But I think one of the things that I see happening, particularly with younger people, is this notion that, I need to find what gives me joy every day or I'm not going to do it. And, I've got to find the thing that gives my life meaning. I'll tell you, my mother is 87 years old. She's written 40 books. She's now on her 41st. Wow. She's incredible. And people come up to my mother all the time. She's a Holocaust survivor. And they say, where do you get the inspiration for your writing? Where does it come from? And my mother, just looks at him and she loves this question. She says, it's not like I go on some mountaintop and hear a voice and get inspiration. She says, every morning I get up, I sit down at my desk, I get a cup of coffee, and I do the work. Yeah. And I tell you that because you're not going to find, do what you love and the money will follow. Bullshit. At the end of the day, guys, it takes work. Yeah. You are not going to love everything you do all the time. I was mentoring a young girl and she says, you mean you're as successful as you are and you still do things you don't enjoy? Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So yes, that finding your why isn't like, oh, I want to be an influencer. That's my why. I want to be a rock star. That's my why. That's everybody's why.
Right.
Doesn't work for every gosh darn person. So when you're looking for a company, look first for Who can be a mentor? Whose values do you resonate with? And it might be your ultimate why in life. You find your why through doing the work.
Yeah. I love you said that, because all that stuff we always see, it's great for Facebook memes and all that stuff.
I know.
Like, do what you love. And like, I would love to go work for the Baltimore Ravens. That'd be it. Yeah. But like, maybe I've met so few people that get to do that. God bless. If you can find it, God bless. Right. But it's like, hey, what are you trying to accomplish in your life? And you kind of work your way back, right? If you say, hey, listen, I want to live on the coast. I want to be able to surf 3 hours a day. I love to rock climb. I want to have good work-life balance. Or like you started the show with, Shari, I want to go all in. I have 20 hours a day. All I want to do is make a ton of money. Okay, start with that, and then it's easier to work your way back, right? But when folks are like, that's so pithy, I'm just going to do whatever. You're like, yeah, that only works for like the top 1% of the people in the world. The rest of us have to work hard.
Yeah, and you'll find more and more when you take action. And really, success is more about the people you surround yourself with than anything. So you want to think very carefully. There's that saying, you will, the 5 people that you hang out with, you will have the median income. But it's also, who can teach you things? Who can you learn from? Who has the values? Who has the ethics? Who's going to push you to be your best you? That's where you find your why. You find your why in the little things, in the little moments in a day of helping somebody, of doing good work. And little whys build your big why throughout time. So I love that question, because it's
Sure. I sent that out to our team. That whole I sent you are the 5 people around you when we were in the office, and they're all moving chairs. You know what I mean? I was like, you become the average of the 5 people around you, and you could see the people that were like,
oh, there's an extra check.
But I don't like that person. Can I move my desk? It was so good. Hey, go ahead.
So I guess in terms of goals, right, because I know that we want to focus a little bit on that. You hear all the time, you want to make your goals smart. I wrote them down too, like specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time frame. Do you like to use any other format aside from that when setting goals, or like any advice for people?
The best advice I ever got, I remember, again, when I started out in sales in my 20s, and I remember it was right about this time of year. And my mentor said to me, what's your goal for the new year? So, I'm going to make $100,000. And guys, this is back in the 80s. Like, that's like $1 billion today. And he goes, yeah, really? What'd you make last year? I'm like, 30K. How about the year before? 24K. And he goes, it's like, what makes you think just because you're selling a different product at a different company, all of a sudden you're going to 3X your goals? And he said something to me that stayed with me the rest of my life. And I want to say it to the audience. Goals aren't just about your SMART goals and what you put on the refrigerator. You have to ask yourself the very important question, what am I willing to give up in order to get there? What are you willing to give up? And he made me go through that exercise of what I wanted to give up. And the things he told me to give up, I did not want to give up.
What's one? Give us one.
Well, the first 2 was I used to love going to the Jackalope bar and, putting down a few every night. And I still love having a good whiskey and a nice glass of wine, but it was like, that's what I did immediately after work, and then I'd bitch about if I was running the company, how much better it would be, blah, blah, blah. And I just realized that, there's only 2 ways to make more money in sales, right? More customers or more training. Yeah. So I realized, I really need to take that time and I need to train. And back then it was audio tapes, it was videotapes, it was reading. So I ended up going to the Jackalope bar, but just not as often. Yeah. And so I had to give that up. And then I had to give up, like waiting for the SDRs to book my prospects for me and get my own referrals. And again, more customers, more training. But I'll tell you the killer to give up, it wasn't men, Jack. It was, it was ego. He said something to me. He said, there's 2 types of ego. There's good ego and bad ego. And sales reps need great ego. Great ego means that you have the ability to claim greatness. You have the ability to say, I'm going to be the top salesperson in the company. I'm going to own the goddamn company one day. I'm going to go get Jack's job. That's good ego. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. Bad ego is where I was suffering and still suffer at my age. Bad ego is where we don't take responsibility. And we blame everything and everyone for our lack of success. And I used to say, well, it's a bad market. They're bad leads. My Venus is in retrograde. I mean, who can sell in retrograde? You know.
It's so funny. The other day I was having another conversation, and I said that too. You know, we are so bad at taking responsibility. You know, when things hit when it's good, we're like, me.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Dre, I'll tell you, like when a broker has a bad month, I almost never hear this. Yep, this month I stunk. It's always like, oh, this lead sucked, the SDRs, this happened illegal. You know, we never, rarely as type A's do we go, this month, yeah, my fault, I stunk. You know what I mean? We're just not prone to take the bull.
Well, and here's a hack. So for the leaders that are watching this, I got great advice from my manager. He actually made us change our self-talk by changing the pronoun. And in the organization I was in, I was never allowed to say the customer didn't have budget or the customer couldn't afford it. I had to change the pronoun and say, I didn't create enough value.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's owning it. That's taking responsibility.
Yep. Shari, so can you talk about, I know you run your own business. You obviously talk to a ton of businesses every week, right? Every month. Can you talk about what you're seeing now from an employee's market, right? I think a lot of folks, unless they live in a cave, if you're on LinkedIn, you're getting pinged a couple times a week. Oh, we're hiring. You know, folks are coming out again of COVID mode, and like everybody, particularly in the business sales world, is hiring, and folks are getting offers, and they're like, should I go? And what is it? And so what do you see? What do you see companies doing? And kind of what is your advice to folks as they look at and experience opportunities, which is awesome, right? Hey, I'm wanted. But what's the model? How should folks kind of approach that as this employees market has really exploded here in the last, kind of 6 months?
Well, I think in a way it goes back to what we just spoke about, Jack. There's a tendency to think, well, I'm not doing well here, so I'm going to jump ship. As if it's something outside of ourselves that's going to make everything better. I'm going to go to a new company, a new idea, whatever. So I think you got to get really clear on, do I even need to go to a different company? Do I really need to jump, or do I need to do a better job of asking for help and assistance and mentorship in the company I'm in? I'd start there, because you know what? You don't want to jump around a lot. You don't want to have that on your resume. And there's always a ramp up time, and the grass is always greener. Now, if you are in the market, if you are looking, I think it's different for everybody. But the first thing I would do is get some quiet time and write down what your criteria is, so that you don't get emotionally swayed.
Amen.
If you're like me and every other salesperson on the planet, you are the easiest sale in the world, and you probably are fairly emotional. That's why we're in this profession. I like to come up with, what is my criteria before I get sold? And that also makes you a much more powerful candidate.
Yeah.
So I might, for example, and it's going to be different for everybody, say, I want that life-work balance. I want to be able to work from home. So I'm looking for a company that will let me work from home, whatever it is for you, 30 to 40% of the time. That's criteria one. Okay. Number two, and again, if it were me, I would say it's more important that I like the leader I'm going to be reporting to, even than the company I'm working for. If you can get both, home run. But Marcus Buckingham from Gallup famously said, people don't leave companies, they leave managers.
Yep.
Is that manager somebody you respect? Is it somebody you can learn from? Somebody who will develop you as a human, not just as a number to help him or her meet quota. So I'm just giving you what some of my criteria would be. So I'd want some of that work-life balance. I'd want to know who the manager is. I definitely want to believe in the product and know that the product is doing good in the world. I've definitely represented products, and then I've seen the industry or the company not serve the consumer, and that doesn't align with my value system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody, but I would create your criteria before you think about it.
Yep, it's so important, right? Because folks get emotionally attached when they
Yeah.
feel wanted. They're like, oh.
Well, and I think too, a lot of like the young, and I'm still in that younger generation, I guess, but like right out of school, like early 20s.
Did you just call us old? Did you?
No, but I'm about to speak, and I don't want you to be like, oh, I'm hearing that. But I'm saying, a lot of times, like people right out of school, these other things are important, but they hear money, right? So they end up leaving opportunities for more money, whether it's 5K, 10K, and they're like, oh, it's going to be amazing. And then they end up knocking on the door, and it's that whole grass isn't greener. So I think that your advice is super helpful, because instead of just looking at money, right, you've got to figure out, well, okay, so if the money's not great, do you love where you work? Do you love who you work with? Yeah. Do you have that work-life balance? So I think those are all,
and the mentorship and the ability, to grow.
For sure.
And I also think for young people, it's critical. Don't get me started on the whole college system. It's collapsing, right? Our whole university system is collapsing before our eyes. And, I think that it's really important to know, am I going to learn different types of things than I already know? Am I challenging myself, and am I going to become more marketable even in the future? Because that's important too.
Yeah,
definitely. So I have another question just in regards to goals, because I asked my team a couple. I'm like, I'm meeting with Shari. What do we want to know, right? This is our time. So somebody on my team had asked, hey, how do you reset and then get back on track if you don't achieve your goal within that certain time frame that you've set?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. There's an emotional component and then there's an action component. And I always want to start with the emotional component. There is a tendency for a lot of sellers, when we miss a deal or we miss a goal, we focus on what we did wrong. We start beating ourselves up. And the self-talk, first of all, I would journal. I think journaling is a superpower. And start writing down your self-talk. Some of you talk to yourself in ways you would never talk to your own child or somebody you're mentoring. Oh, I'm a loser. I never hit my goal. What are you reconfirming? So the first thing is, don't beat yourself up and wear yourself down. Like, you've got to be your guru. You've got to be your own coach. And now you might want to say, okay, what are the two things that I could have maybe done better? Not that I did wrong, but I could have done better. And then how am I going to change it? So spend 10% of the time thinking about where you missed, and 90% of the time thinking about, what did I do right?
Yeah.
What did I do well? And how do I grow that? Okay. And then as far as, setting your goals, I think it's really important that you have different benchmarks for your goals. We set them too high. I'm going to make $1 million next year, and I've only made $21,000. Sort of like me. So, and then you really want to, and this being a sales leader, focus on the activities that get you there, not just the goals. Yeah. So like when we're managing pipeline, right? Or we're managing salespeople, we're always saying, how many calls did you make? How many people did you move through the pipeline? If we just say, why didn't you make goal? So celebrate your activities. I'm going to make 30 calls today. I'm going to get 20 appointments today, and congratulate yourself for the activities. And if you keep focusing on the activities, if you set a realistic goal, it will come.
Yeah, and I'd love to add to that. I think so much of it is like momentum, right? It's like in sports, of baseball, when somebody's in a slump, the best of the best in a slump, they're like, "Now I forget how to hit," right? And it's just doing all the little things, so you build momentum, right? And so with that, it should grow.
Nice echo.
I know. Do you hear
it? You have an echo?
I heard it.
I heard a great quote. I've said it twice today. I liked it so much. I was at a yoga retreat for a week. It was pretty groovy. There's a lot of, yogic philosophy and Buddhist philosophy. It was really great just to take some time. But, this sort of Buddhist idea that life is suffering, right? We all suffer in different ways, and we all have pain. But I love this saying. It was, you can either have the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Choose.
No, that's deep. Makes my head hurt.
Deep.
Why am I echoing?
Huh?
Sure. Let me mute.
So, So, Shari, can you share your perspective on COVID gets a bad rap, right? But it's also set up now a whole new dynamic, both in schooling, job opportunities. So as we go into 2022, what are you seeing? What do you think the opportunities are as we come out of COVID? What are things folks should be looking at as new opportunities for themselves?
Well, there is a shift. During the pandemic, I sit on Gartner's Thought Leader panel, and they have some really, notice how I snuck that in, that little credibility piece. that in. But there's some very interesting statistics. I can't even say the word about working from home. And during the pandemic, 90% of all sales calls, obviously, were done online, virtually.
Yeah.
86% of sellers said they'd take a pay cut to work from home. And sales leaders predict 50% of all sales will be hybrid, even as we go into 2022 after the pandemic.
Yeah.
My biggest advice is you need to learn both, and they're different.
Yeah.
So look, you're going to sell more face-to-face. We all know this. We all know that we can build a better relationship. We release oxytocin, the feel-good hormone, through our nasal cavities when we're face-to-face. Jack, I've never met you. I've never smelled you. If I smelled you, I might like you even better. But the point is, it's harder. But we are seeing, as you look at the entire buyer's journey, there's going to be parts of your sales process that now we never would have done virtually before that we can. We now are using the tools. Our customers are using the tools. And I mean, whether you're selling B2B or B2C. And so my best advice to sellers is upskill yourself so that you not only know how to do face-to-face, but you understand the 4 to 6 key differences of how to communicate, build trust, create urgency, and show value in a virtual world.
It's so important. You mentioned one of the things too is, do I want to work remote, right? Everyone wanted to work remote. And then they were like, oh, now I'm remote. All I want to do is back in the office. So I just encourage folks to think about, hey, do you really want to be remote? And if so, how much? Because people thought they wanted to be home all the time. Our team, can I work from home? And now our team's like, can we get to an office for a little while? Can I see my coworkers? So,
well, I'm even itching. Like, I don't want to go back full time, but I think, nowadays, like having 2 days a week, even in the office, like just to do something to like get up and get dressed for. Like, it's just so easy to put on loungy clothes and look like a bum. And, if you have to see somebody, it's a lot.
All right. So what are you wearing on the bottom? Are you going to show us?
I have shorts.
All right, Jack, we're all going to show. Come on. Come on, Jack.
I have a pair of sweatpants. I have a pair of
Can we see? Can you lower your camera? Yeah, there you go. Come on, Andrew, what do you got?
Sherry's fully dressed. See, Shari went, look. Oh,
look. Nice. I'm actually kind of fully dressed. I am barefoot.
The show is going total.
It's a good thing I was wearing shorts.
This will be our highest ranked show. They'll be like, what are we doing? Legs? What are we doing?
What are they doing?
No, they're gonna be like, so you guys showed your legs, your feet. You talked about having a heart on. Like, what is this?
I know. Well, Jack's a little loosey goosey.
We're gonna go post it. Look, YouTube will ban the show. There'll be like too many odd things that we're rabbit hole.
Won't be the first time.
Sure.
Have fun. I mean, at the end of the day, you ask a question. Should you work from home? Should you work at the office? I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
I do think for younger sellers, and I'm sure somebody's doing a study on this, and there's got to be statistics. I think it's got to be really hard to learn a product, to learn a culture, to be part of a team.
Yeah. Yep.
If you have never been in the office.
Yeah. Once
you get the little bit of maturity, a little bit of discipline, a lot of discipline, you've got, and it's not only not working enough, it's working too much. It's, never leaving it and being with your family and having that balance. So I think it depends on the product you're selling. It depends if you're younger. I would definitely, you miss serendipity, I think is the biggest thing. And the thing is, when we're working at home, we usually only take calls and surround ourselves with people with views like ours. And some of the greatest moments of my life have been, at the proverbial water cooler, or going to, you meet somebody from the accounting department and you learn something new, and you end up having different new relationships. I think if I were in my 20s, I would want a hybrid. Yeah. I do like being home. I think personally I get more done, but I don't get the relationship, the new insights, and the culture, and the attaboys, and all of the things we need. So I just think it depends.
Yeah.
So you mentioned culture, right? I think it's something that we've all had to adjust to. Like, how do we build a culture, especially with new folks? Like, we never get to meet them. We don't have social events. Like, there's all these things that we're missing. I think a lot of companies are used to it, but I still think that there's some that are going to be going to this model more. Like, is there any advice that you have for building a culture in this, I guess now, so going to a hybrid model?
I think there's a couple of things, and we've been studying this and working on it. And I will say 80% of what we do today is we put on rock show virtual master classes where we'll do, 6 to 8 week courses with a company, 90 minutes at a time. And we've got to build a culture and fun. Look, sellers want to have fun. Emotions are contagious. And it's proven that the more fun somebody's having, the more the learning centers of the brain light up. And so if you want to build that culture, I think the easiest way to think about it is think about the 5 senses. What makes something emotional? It's what I see, it's what I hear, it's what I smell, it's what I eat, and it's what I touch. And so as you're doing your meetings with people, we've got one client and they have a different theme every week. They've got the rock and roll theme. Bring your favorite rock and roll t-shirt. They'll send out a playlist. So everybody sends in their favorite song and they'll send out a playlist. Make sure that you're doing what happens in the training process is always duplicated in the sales process. So start your meetings and do those icebreakers. And here's a couple of fun ideas for icebreakers. When I'm on Zoom now, they're little things. We'll just have somebody change their name. You can go to those 3 dots and you keep the first name, or you have no idea who they are, or you have to admit you forgot them. And it might say, Jack Cheap Trick. I just picked that out of the hat because that's your favorite band. Or, Jack, what's your favorite football team, or whatever theme you're doing, but you want to make it interactive. Yeah. You want to make it fun. And that's really how you're going to build culture.
Amen.
I like that.
Yeah, that's great. Shari, what, as we wind down our time, your thoughts, best advice, as folks think about kind of setting some goals, both normal, hey, starting a new year, But with everything we've been through for the last 18 months and, what you see as you're training by the way, Shari works for some of the, top Fortune 500 companies around the country. And so when you interact with those companies, your best thoughts, feedback, advice as folks think about 2022, both setting goals and maybe areas they should be thinking about or new things you see on the horizon.
What should the sellers be thinking about?
Yeah, like as they set their goal for 2022, based on everything you see in the market and your consulting gigs, like what are the best advice to your kids, to your mentees? You'd say, hey, as you're planning for 2022, make sure you take account for these couple things,
Again, I'm going to give you a really holistic answer. And this might bring the end back to the beginning. I think I mentioned I studied quite a bit with Dr. Dan Baker, who wrote What Happy Companies Know and What Happy People Know. And I will tell you that the happier you are in your life, the more productive you will be. Happy companies, happy employees, close employees make more money. So the big question, what's the secret to happiness? What's the secret to fulfillment? And Dr. Baker showed me a triangle, and I live my life by it, and I teach my son by it, and some of the women I mentor. And there's 3 things we need to be fulfilled in life. And think of the top of the triangle is this idea of a sense of purpose. And again, as I said in the beginning, it might not be this grand thing. It might be, but I have a sense of purpose and I feel good about the company. I feel good about what I'm doing. I'm excited to get up every day. I am contributing. Yeah. That's number 1. The second part of the happiness triangle is relationships. How do I feel about my coworkers? How do I feel about my friends in my life? The people that I've surrounded with, do I have good, nurturing relationships? And then the third part of the triangle is, do I have time for my own health and wellness? Because if I'm not sleeping well, if I'm stressed, if I'm not exercising, moving my body, having my spiritual practice, whatever it is, I am never going to be able to show up in those other 2 areas. So yes, this is the triangle of happiness or the secret of happiness. The trick is how to balance all 3.
Amen.
I have just one last question. So I think we talked about having a mentor, I think, which is super important, right? You set a goal, that person can help you kind of lead the way, hold you accountable. But is there anything else that you advise, like to commit for somebody once they set a goal to get them and really follow through with that goal aside from a mentor?
I think, I'll go to something I heard. I heard a podcast of Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld's an amazing guy. And for those of you who don't remember who Jerry Seinfeld is, he is probably the highest paid comedian of all time. Yeah. He started in the Seinfeld show. He was making $265 million a year.
Wait.
Not bad job if you can get it. Now that might be a sense that I think he found his why. But the thing that Jerry said, and this, you know, like, how did you do this? And again, it's not like he got inspiration on a mountaintop. He said every single day, I sat in my chair and I wrote, I don't know if it was 1, 2, or 3 jokes, but he sat in his chair for 4 or 5 hours. He had the discipline to do the work. And sellers, really, at the end of the day, you don't want to keep chasing shiny things. Well, this didn't work, so I'm going to do this. Well, here's a good diet, I'm going to try this. Well, here's a good company, I'm going to try this. It's doing the work. What are the 3 to 5 activities you need to do every single day in order to reach that goal? And do the work.
That's it. Amen. Look, Shari, appreciate it. Look, I snagged I couldn't let you have just your dog. I snagged little Lola. She's our
Who's that?
That's Lola, my
Lola.
little 4-pound
Lola.
Can
Can we see if Mia likes Lola?
Oh, look, here we go.
Let's see if they like each other.
Lola, look, that's how we get our ratings. It's not from the show. So 5 pounds, 5
All right,
pounds.
hold on.
Thank you. Look, you got yours?
Yeah, I mean, I have to.
You gonna go get
What was that joke that Tina made last time? That it was a pet cast, not a podcast?
Yes, a little pet cast. Yes.
Pet cast.
Lola makes it
Yeah,
happen.
you're such a ham.
Look, Dre had to go get her dog. That dog ran away. So.
Do you think dogs can see each other across the screen? I don't think they can.
No, I put them like right in the mirror.
You think?
No, they can't see each other.
Try to show my face. Look, you're trying
You
to
think
show
they
my
can
face.
see each other? Really?
Do you see the dogs? I don't think so.
I try to put them like right in the mirror, and I still don't get anything. So.
See?
Crazy.
No, he doesn't see dogs. He's just interested in me.
What name you got there? Is that Mello?
This is Mello. I just woke him up from a nap, so that's why he just wants to sleep. Look.
All right, hold yours up again, Jack, because we're going to take a picture.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Mia likes her picture taken.
Yay!
Lola, rock star. Shari, thank you so much for your time and energy, carving out time in your busy schedule. Appreciate it so much. Your wisdom, your feedback, always amazing. Love your energy and wish you the very best. Can you tell folks a couple things? I know they're trying to connect with you. I know you have a couple things out there, from your book to the online training. We have a couple of those queued up. So can you tell folks, how you'd love them to reach out to you?
Yeah. I just so happen to have a copy of my book here. You can grab a copy of my book, Heart and Sell. And then connect with me on LinkedIn. Truly, I put out content every other day for free. That's my give back to the sales community. And they're just 2-3 minute snippets. So please enjoy them. And if you want to email me directly, it's Shari, SHARI, at Shari Levitin, LEVITIN.com.
That's awesome. Listen, Shari's the best of the best. If you're on LinkedIn at all, you've obviously seen her do great things. So appreciate it so much. Enjoy. Have a great holiday season.
Thanks, Shari.
Right?
Bye, you guys. Happy holiday.
Have a great holiday. Yes. Shari's the best. Listen, her energy, and I think I mentioned at the beginning of the show, she left Microsoft training, popped on the show. And so just a great resource. If you're not following her and you're in the business sales world, you should. She puts out stuff every single day. It's amazing. And you can feel her energy. And she has just a wealth of experience, right, Jay? She's been on our team, right? I think you're.
Yeah, no, I love her. She's super sweet.
It's always great. So just encourage folks. Listen, I know I said last week, when folks hear about like go to the gym or do financial planning or lay out a plan for next year, folks are like, I'd rather go,
Do anything.
Put needles under my nails, right? Some old torture treatment. But listen, really believe the next 14 months are going to be critical for most folks in the coming years. And so it's when we're in a stressful situation, we always make a bad decision. I used to tell my kids, like, know what you're going to do before you're in the moment. And so encourage folks, the economy, listen, there's a bump coming in the economy. You'd have to be, again, living in a cave if you don't realize that's coming. Knowing that there's going to be some change in work from home as COVID kind of dissipates. And then I assume, again, like most folks, if you're quality and you know what you're doing and you're having success, you're getting pinged a lot about new opportunities. And I thought Shari's advice of like, write down now, if you were going to look for something, what would that be before you get into it? Because once we're into it, then we just love somebody wants me. And we get $2,500 more, $5K more, $20K more, I'm out. Right. And so sometimes that doesn't always land well, and then folks come back. We experience that too. So, any last words? Anything you want to add today to the show as a bow to wrap?
No, I think maybe we should just talk about the schedule for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
People know what's going on.
Yes. So I think we have a graphic. Listen, so we're going to continue this with some of the best folks online. So next week it's going to be Angel Danker, who's one of the best in Florida. We had her husband on Mike a week or so ago, and just talk about goal planning and having success in life. One of the great coaches here in South Florida. By the way, former Miami Dolphins cheerleader. And then Deborah Eckling, if you follow her online, she's a goal-setting expert. KD, you probably know if you're in the sales world. Scott Leese, middle of December. Brenda Meller will be here, great online marketer. And then Ian Koniak will be here to wrap it up. Ian was a top sales rep at Salesforce and now has his own sales consulting operation. So all those folks, really trying to figure out, hey, what am I trying to do in 2022, and want to just pick their brains a little. And feel free to pop your questions in, or any thoughts or questions you may want to have. We'd love to ping those. So that's the upcoming schedule for the next couple of weeks. Amazing set of folks who really blackmail those people, by the way. Folks are like, how do you we have blackmail? We do a lot of Stephen Bryant, all those covert operations. We have pictures of those people in compromising positions.
Jeez. Now you got mellow crank. It's okay.
Yeah, I saw it. Hit it again. There it is. Look, the Dean's back. Great. So thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Shari Levitin, for your time and energy. We'll see you next week. We're back to the regular.